In 2016, a World Championship was born.
We're driving cars on a Mars tonight. We're blasting off to the stars tonight. We wanna go, go. We wanna go, go.
Into the bright big ladder they both fly with Mike and MTK on the way down, and he's got him!
Hello, everyone. Well, Twitch chat specifically. I'm Jess, and I am very happy to host another episode of Weather Quads, DCL's pilot interview series, where we get to know all your favorite pilots, and they talk about themselves, DCL, and just drones in general. So we invite you to follow today because we're not just talking about pro racing. It's also, if you're new to drones, if you want to learn about drones, this is the place to be. And today, as amazing esteemed guests, we have star whatever number. Wait, I got this. 23467. I always forget which number is this. From China Dragons, coming in from Germany, and FPV Gilbert from XBlades Racing, coming from the UK. And, you know, in case you didn't know who he was yet, we also have this dude. He's kind of famous, a little bit of a big deal. It's Matt Andrews. He is our favorite commentator. So welcome all of you. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
As a quick, tiny intro on a personal note, you will notice I am wearing a lot of colors. This is partly because it's summer, but also partly because it is Pride Month. And here at DCL, we are committed to showing our support to the LGBTQIA+ community, and we want you to feel like you're always welcome, not just in Pride Month, but every month. We are always here, and the drone community as a whole will always welcome you. And if they don't, DM me and things will happen.
Just get stuff done.
Not a threat. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, guys.
I'm not even sorry, Jess. That's going to stick.
I'm a nice person.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Don't hurt. I think we're going to start. So, Star, you've been here before, so you kind of know the drill. And we have interviewed you a number of times because you are China Dragons team captain, which congratulations on that, by the way. You've been doing a great job as their captain. And in the first race, you guys got to the small final, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's right. We had a good start to the season on race one, yeah. And generally speaking, even though our second race didn't go that well, I'm super happy with the team at the moment. Like, everything is kind of going to plan. Yes, as I said, race 2 wasn't that great, but we're having some good preparations going on. Like, all our guys are still super motivated. It's super fun to fly with them, practicing on a weekly basis. So yeah, looking forward to more DCL action, and we'll see how the story unfolds at the rest of the season.
I mean, guys and girls, because
yeah, for sure,
that is a pilot. Duona has
You are talking about Duona, I guess.
Yeah. She was recruited. Well, I mean, go. Sorry, Thomas.
At this point, I think everyone knows her. Duona obviously has had a great impact in the first 2 races, even though she actually missed one of the 4. So we're super excited to have her. She's been doing so great. Also, like, I mean, you always just see her race like on race day. I see her race with us at least twice a week. So it's just so impressive to see how well she. I mean, she was already insanely fast when we drafted her, but she has gotten so much faster as well in the past 3 months. Or I'm not even sure how long it was. So her development is just insane, and I can't wait to see her race more this season.
Does she beat some of the guys on the team who race in the World Championship?
Sometimes it's always a little bit on and off. So sometimes we practice on official DCL tracks, and she has put in a lot of hours on those before she joined us, and she's really strong on those. So on tracks like that, she does definitely beat some of us in the races. Sometimes, like we usually do set of 5 heats, count points, and then determine a winner for a track. And she has won sets of 5 before when she knew the tracks. On new tracks, that's where she still needs to practice a little bit more, like the thing where we in DCL only get a few minutes to practice a track and then race it. There, our main roster usually is still able to beat her, but also there she has been getting some really good performances. And yeah, you really can't look over her if you're doing races internally and on the main events.
Well, we hope.
Person's in the chat saying young pilots for the win, and he's not wrong, is he? Duona is now 10 years old and was 9 when she started the season, and what a phenomenal talent. What an amazing talent. And I guess you guys must be learning from her too. Obviously, she's a lot younger, and you know the experience and so on is more on your sides, but you can always learn something new, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like, she has been joining us. I think she hasn't been that known in the DCL community before that. She has been on quite a few leaderboards with very good results. But she was rarely a name that I would be checking leaderboard times or something, because, well, you usually just check like the top time or maybe the next 2 or 3. But yeah, once we saw her racing, it's definitely something that we can learn from. And we just, like, everyone on our team has to keep their pace in order to keep beating Duna. But at the end, we also, of course, want her to do really well.
And I mean, she has, and like you said, you know, she didn't even get to take part in in one of the tracks we raced in Lax because of all the connection issues over in China, not with DCL but with Steam over in China. And then so she turns up, misses the warm-up time for the second one, and goes, well, I'll race anyway, and wins it. That's what you do. So yeah, can't wait to see more from her. But you guys are having a good, well, like you said, actually, to be fair, Thomas, you've had a bit of a mixed start this season. You ended last season really strongly. It was the best we'd seen from China Dragons, I mean, in some time. It's difficult to compare, you know, the virtual seasons we're doing now compared to the real life seasons we used to do up until 2019, of course. But, you know, back then in the real life seasons, China Dragons were struggling in the old knockout format that we used to have. They were usually out in the quarterfinals. Virtual season 2020 a little bit tricky, but last year you guys came alive. Like, things really started to work well last year. Although I say, you know, it's hard to compare one season to another, I think we should say last year's was your best. Would you agree?
Yeah, I totally agree. I've been here since the 2020 virtual season, and in 2020 with the knockout format, we really struggled a lot as well. I felt like we were getting better to the end, but then we still would be facing some of the toughest opponents in the first round and get knocked out early. But 2021 season, that format really suited us way better. Just getting the chance, like, especially with the other teams that are maybe not an XBlades or not a Raiden, where we were really fighting for every single point. We now get such exciting matchups versus them, some really close finishes and really close point-wise as well. Like, even this season and the end of last season, you looked at the leaderboards and like the top, like all the 6 teams were so close together, and anyone could have nearly made the grand final at the end. So yeah, last season, especially the end, the 3rd place in Larks and the end was great for our team.
Yeah.
We kind of kept the momentum going for race 1 and now lost a little bit of steam, but that doesn't mean that we're out yet. It's just been 2 races and we still got a lot more to come.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, nobody would say you're out. Yeah, you know you're going to be struggling. Sort of pick it up from here. It was quite a difference in Lax to Vaduz. If you look at the leaderboard at the end of the day, which saw you in bottom place. But do you feel like you as a team underperformed how you raced in Lax, or do you feel like the other teams got better?
generally speaking, not super happy with how our team performed because we had a
Mhm.
lot of inconsistencies and unforced errors. And at the end, we could have gotten a lot more points if we just be able to not do those. But I think it was also a little bit of a mental thing because in the first race in Vaduz, we had a really strong start, even though we raced Raiden first. I think it was like 14-16 that we lost. It was a super close matchup. In the second race versus SSX, we barely lost, but we also were missing a pilot. So that was everything kind of went together and we just had a good day mentally.
Yeah.
And in the second race, we again started off versus Raiden, got a very harsh loss there. And then we tried to get into the tournament and lost against SSX as well, which would be a race that we are really trying to do our best. And it just went downhill kind of from there. Like the mental game is something that we don't talk a lot about in drone racing, but it's also surely a thing that if you always start up versus the toughest opponents, then it's going to be harder for you to race at the end of the day when you're already thinking, oh, we're kind of out, we just got to kind of try, compared to if you start off with a really good matchups and you're like, okay, we're kind of at the top, we just need to keep going a little bit more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like that really worked out better for us in race 1 compared to race 2. Yeah, we just got to work on that as a team and try to make it better in race 3, of course.
And so, Gilbert, we've got kind of the other end of the DCL experience, if you like, whereas Thomas has been with us for a couple of seasons and is team captain now for China Dragons, and as we say, they've been on quite a good resurgence. FPV Gilbert, you had your first race in the DCL ever a couple of weeks ago when we raced in Lax, so again, welcome to you. Looking back on it now, how do you feel about it now?
Well, thank you. I really enjoyed the race. I think, I could have done better. I didn't score the most points, but I think I scored enough. My job was always going to be just clear it up when there's a mess. Not really fight for the top, but I think I did that. I got quite a few second places, but winning was always going to be difficult. Yeah.
I mean, winning is always difficult. We have a league full of ridiculously talented pilots, but you held your own. And considering, this is your first race at DCL, it's really impressive. Most people would finish last the whole time, so you fought your way up there, and it's really good. It's the beginning. You're going to keep going, keep getting better, and maybe, one day we'll say your name like we say MCKs. Who knows? It's the dream, isn't it, I guess?
Yeah.
So how did you end?
Go on, Jess.
Oh, sorry, Matt. I was going to ask FPV Gilbert, how did you get into DCL? How did that start? How did you end up in XBlades? What's your story, essentially?
Well, I'd known about XBlades and DCL for a while. Obviously, it's a pretty big thing. They're a big team. But I never really thought about getting into DCL. Always seemed like something I wouldn't do. And then it was Star, actually, I found out, won the draft and got through. And that was kind of the first time I thought, wait, this might be possible. I was racing with a lot of other sims, never as quick, but kind of close. So after that, I bought DCL the game. And in the 2021 draft, came 10th and got picked up by XBlades. So yeah, that was good.
That's
the best
impressive
team. This is the first year where DCL hasn't had XBlades at the top of the leaderboard again and again and again. And the first year where we haven't said the reigning world champions XBlades, or I haven't said, I tend to say that quite a lot. But yeah, so take nothing away from you, FPV Gilbert. You get picked by what was at the time, and very much, in close realms of now, the best team out there. Back then, they were, multiple-time world champions. It's only this year that they're not. So you got picked for XBlades. Like, that's huge for any aspiring pilot, isn't it? So, what I love, though, is these two guys we've got on the show today. It was Star down here in the bottom left, who inspired FPV Gilbert down here in the bottom right to give this thing a go. So,
love it.
Do you two need to have a hug or something? Do we need to let you two kind of come to some arrangement? I don't know if there's Did you know Star, by the way? Did you know that?
Yeah, and I can 100% attest to what he was saying. I've seen Gilbert kind of grow up his drone skills. I mean, we both grew a lot when we were racing together in other sims as well. And when he started to actually race DCL and when he entered the draft, I was super excited to see how he can perform, because I knew that he is a great pilot if he just gets a little bit of more stick time for the DCL physics. And well, first of all, when he got drafted to XBlades, I of course was super excited for him. But then I heard that he's actually going to make the cut for being top 4 pilot there. Like, you always got to consider that just making XBlades like one of the top 12 pilots is already insanely difficult. And then he even made it to the top 4 roster that actually flies a heat. So that got me absolutely stoked to see that. And I think for his first race, he did a great job at defending those third places, like literally exactly what he was supposed to do. I think he did a great job, yeah.
And I think it was smart
100%.
play of XBlades to say to you, Gilbert, as you mentioned at the start of the show, you know, this is your role in this thing, is go out and fly as well as you can. And obviously you want to get wins, but when it's like in previous seasons, when you've got some of the best pilots in the world as your teammates, sometimes you can't get any wins because they've already got them. So what you've got to do is come in as high up the points as you can. And actually that surely took a lot of pressure off of you, didn't it, Gilbert? Like this idea that, okay, you've earned your spot on the starting 4. They're not going to be annoyed with you if you don't come out with 6 wins out of 6 or anything. You need to fly as well as you can and back up your teammates. That must have took pressure off.
Yeah, I think I did feel less pressure because obviously we have internal trials every time, so I've earned my spot on that team. It's not like they're just giving me a shot. Also, having Dark X there, it was a bit sad to kind of see him just leave in the distance, but at the same time, it was good. I knew there were points there. I knew I didn't have to be pushing right at the top. So, yeah, that did help.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean, isn't it? When you've got a pilot like Dark X, who has always been brilliant, but Jess, you were saying just now before we came live, like he has got another gear this season.
He's
seeing him
picked
off in
up.
the distance, I'm sure it does make you feel a bit like, I wish I could fly like that, but at least he's got a light blue drone, same as you.
Just a quick Dark X fun fact is, we were saying this earlier, he, of the 4 race day racetracks, so times done on the race day itself, Dark X holds 3 of the 4 records of fastest lap. Yayu is also an XBlades pilot, holds the 4th. So FPV Gilbert, the fact that you're in a team where already 2 of the pilots are the fastest in the league, testament to the talent that you also have. And I know you're humble about it, but you can be proud.
So you got in the draft, and Jess, go on.
Oh, I was going to say, we can talk about Gilbert's draft. We have some footage that we can look at.
Hey.
But go, Matt, you can...
Oh, I don't know, Gilbert. Let's talk about what you were feeling and how well you were doing it. Well, this is your draft selection run, is it?
Yeah, this is my draft selection run.
Yeah.
So this was right at the end of 24 hours of grind this track. This was actually my 5th run.
Yeah, one of your later runs.
Yeah, brilliant. This was my very last run, which was my best one. I had a clean run at this point, but the pace wasn't great. Wasn't pushing too hard. So I really wanted a clean run.
So you'd managed to get a clean run in, but not many clean runs have been. So what, did you bank 5 runs like you were allowed to?
I did bank 5, but only one was perfectly clean. You see, I just hit there. And again,
right, I see.
This was quicker. So it was really backed off my other clean run.
If anyone doesn't understand what we mean, for the last stage of the draft, we give our pilots 24 hours to set times on a track no one has seen. All right, that environment, if you're familiar, and of course it's in DCL, the game that you can get on PlayStation and Xbox on Steam. That's our game. All our tracks are available in there, and we use some of the environments lots of times. So you might look at that and think, oh, that's Scimitar. That looks familiar. And it is. It's the one near the Great Wall of China where we raced in real life in 2018. Yes, we did. But that arrangement for the draft was an arrangement that nobody had seen prior to that. So you get 24 hours, you can fly as much as you want, you can bank 5 runs, but you have to say you're going to bank a run before you do it. So it's like, right, this one's going to be a banker, and off you go. You can't race it and go, oh, that was a good one, I'll put that in. You have to choose beforehand. Are you in the zone? Is this going to be good? So Gilbert, that was one of you said your last ones. Were there some runs where you were, I'm going to bank this one, and then 5 seconds later, you're like, no, stuff.
So I did 2 the night before to make sure I got some in, and both of them were just awful. I wasn't flying well at that point. So yeah, I regretted those, but I had 3 for the next day, which all went okay.
Yeah. you just got to kind of, get into that zone, haven't you? And in fact, excellent question from a good buddy, the One Donut, who's here. Hello, the One Donut, again, my old friend. Are pilots flying the whole 24 hours, or do they sleep a few hours in between? Tell us, FPV Gilbert, what were those 24 hours like for you?
So I did have proper sleep, yeah, and I was taking regular breaks. I think it was like at least every 2 hours I'd take a half-hour break. And yeah, I had a good night's sleep in the middle to make sure I was ready. So it wasn't solid flying, but there was a lot of it.
I know some pilots do, Donut. I know a few people do kind of attack the whole thing. Ice Cheaters there in the chat saying usually they fly the whole time. I mean, it's got to be a balance, right? I know personally, I'm sure my performance would drop off if I had to do something like that for 24 hours. But yeah, it's how you want to do it, isn't it? Star, when you did this a couple of years ago, how did you attack the 24-hour challenge?
So actually, when I did this 2 years ago, we didn't have this yet. So back then it was 1 week grind because it was the second draft of 2020.
Yeah.
I battled it out with a friend of mine who also got picked afterwards. It was Halo Walker. We were both from Germany, good friends, known each other for ages already, and we just grinded out that leaderboard against each other because we both just didn't want the other one to be faster at the end of the week.
Yeah.
But you and Gilbert, you're absolutely right when you say you need to take breaks in drone racing. I mean, you can try to go with your head through a wall, like 4 hours of straight grinding a track, but it usually never works out that way. Everyone is different, of course, but you gotta take some at least slight breaks in between to make sure you're staying concentrated, you stay focused. You just have no chance of actually finishing a run at the pace that we fly if you just keep going. So very important to take breaks. That's not just for the draft race. It's also like for race day. I mean, these events are really long for us pilots as well, with like the free practice and warming up and everything. And if you don't know how to take breaks and what you actually can do from a mental side of things, then you're gonna have a bad time at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, very good point. Fire Tiger Vegan Dragon. I'm just going to say that a few times. Fire Tiger Vegan Dragon. I'm going to see a race off between Star and Gilbert. I don't know if we've got one for you today, but you guys did race each other, of course, a couple of weeks ago when we did our last Virtual Drone Grand Prix in Lax. When XBlades and China Dragons came up against each other. If you haven't seen it before, Fire Tiger Vegan Dragon, welcome. We are the Drone Champions League. We do our races between our 6 World Championship contender teams, and every team races each other in a round robin format. So Star from China Dragons did race against Gilbert from XBlades. Star, you won. I don't know if you won it, but I think you were quicker than Gilbert in the race between the two of you. I think you beat him in that one, but it was maybe one of Gilbert's first ones. But yes, I think.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the race 2 versus XBlades, China Dragons XBlades, we had the small heat with DarkX and Gilbert versus me and Creator Gamer. And if I remember correctly, then DarkX had a mistake in lap 2 somewhere. And I think I actually won the heat and Gilbert got second, but it was for sure a great race.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we were really impressed behind the scenes. Not with you, Star. We're not impressed by you. We were really impressed with you, Gilbert, with how well you featured. And to be fair, XBlades definitely do something right when it comes to giving new pilots their chance. And as we said already early on, you fought and earned it. But Yayu's settled in and picked up some wins. Sally's picked up some wins. You've put in some great performances on your first time in the DCL. So whatever it is that XBlades are doing to give new pilots, their spot when they race for it and earns it. Clearly, they're giving you a lot of support to help you do well on the day too, because you have been, and all right, you haven't yet got a win over Star, but will it come? Will it come, Gilbert? I think it might.
I hope so someday.
Yeah, I don't hope so.
It's great that you two knew each other so much before getting into DCL, and you've both come in recent years, and that history of that. And a lot of our pilots have got that. A lot of our pilots know each other from the IRL scenes and other sims and so on as well. And it's fantastic. And yes, IRL is a thing, and yes, we will go and do it when we can.
But I think the race that we will be paying attention to in the next race. So Reute on the 18th of June. I'm not sure yet. I haven't seen the rosters, so I don't know if the two of you will both be racing. If you know, don't say anything. But if you are both racing, be it this race or the future races of the season, we will be keeping a close eye if you two do race against each other. Because
we're also going to keep a close eye on. You're calling it now?
It's going to be the matchup of the season. It's going to be Star versus FPV Gilbert.
The main event.
Exactly.
Big spotlight moment. Yes.
Raiden,
put him in the ring.
No.
Who?
The good thing though is for sure that with the new format, with the big heats, we do get to fly against every pilot.
Yeah.
Like last season, Gilbert and me could have been in a matchup, but still not race each other because he's in maybe the first bracket and I'm in the second bracket or whatever. And this season, we at least every time get the big heat to actually race off against whoever we want. And that's already a lot of fun. Just like, you know, you're going to face the pilots that you want to race off on a big stage. And that's happening now. And that's something I really love about the new format.
Good. Yeah, I'm so pleased we're doing it. You're right. It does mean everybody will actually race everybody, not just the teams, but every pilot will actually race everybody else at some point during the event, which is great. Gilbert, so you obviously knew DCL from previous seasons as well, though. So in past years, we've had an elimination format with the knockout brackets. We did, the round robin with everyone racing each other and so on. Now we've got it with the round robin and the big heats in as well. What do you prefer what we're doing now with the big heats? Do you like it when there's more competition in the air, or do you prefer the old kind of one-on-ones?
I do quite like this format, and although I think 1v1 racing is a really fun way to fly, I've done it in real life and other sims, but it's nice to fly everyone on DCL, because otherwise you don't get that chance to race who you want to. Yeah, I like this one.
Good, because that's what we're doing. So, I hope you do like it.
So
we've got Nate in the chat as well. Nate's back with us too. Good to see you, Nate. Been on holiday. Lucky you. Nice. So welcome. We've got a few of our pilots coming in. And Cyclone Racing Team. I thought there'd be more of you. Where are all the Cyclone guys and girls? I imagine there's a few more of those. Oh, there's a Cyclone just popping up right now. So while we've been talking a little bit about Gilbert and Star and the kind of history of one of you inspiring the other, which is lovely. Star, we had Chryson sending in a question earlier on, didn't we, Jess?
Star, wait, what did it? I want to read the exact text.
Yes.
So a question for Star23467. What do you think about Chryson FPV?
And that question is from Chryson FPV.
Right? Yes.
It might be, yes.
Okay. Yeah, Chryson, we also share a long story. Like, I think it was probably a little bit more than a year, maybe 1.5 years ago, where he popped up in one of my streams and started racing on simulators. And to be honest, he was really just getting into it. Like, he wasn't good at all. But he saw me racing, and he kind of just had the same mentality that I had. And for some reason, he instantly started like grinding with me for multiple hours every day. And I kind of feel like I started to teach him some stuff and started to get him some racing mentality and some line work and everything. But he's very young. I think when he started, he was 14 or 15. No, I think when we met first time, I think he was 14. And he got fast so quick. Like, I mean, I couldn't even believe it. The way that he improved, that he was able to grasp all the things about drones was kind of scary, to be honest. And yeah, I think he's an amazing pilot, especially at this point. You really see it. Like, he's starting to fly DCL. He made it through the draft, through the second draft last year, actually. That's when he was flying for like half a year. It's absolutely insane. And
that's how recently this has all been. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been last year, 2021. And now he's back like I think he raced in race 2. And he also grabbed a lot of points for SSX there. He's gotten insanely fast in real life as well. He's probably going to beat me in real life, not in the sim yet, I guess, I hope. So yeah, long story between him and me. There's so many pilots that I love to see do good in the sim or in the intro racing in general, but he's for sure one of the guys that I share a special story with because of that.
That's really lovely.
Who we're talking about, by the way, is Lucas Bum, who flies for Supersonic X, who's now a little bit of a rival as well, which I love. It's your fault for teaching him. You should have taught him some bad habits.
Yeah,
you should meet up with him now and be like, right, so now you've done really well. Now I'm going to let you in on the secrets.
Yeah, Chrysson, I've never told you, but actually you're going to be faster if you just go 80% throttle. That's a real pro tip right there.
Smooth and slow is fast. 80% fast is faster.
I'm afraid he learned too much at this point that he wouldn't believe me anymore.
Yeah, but if you make it sound realistic enough, or maybe like recommend this brand new transmitter that just came out that's like the hype that all the kids are talking about, and it's a transmitter that transmits the signal slower. I don't know if that's a thing.
It's more reliable.
And so it'll make him lose a second, and I'm just saying, brainstorming here.
One stick transmitters of the future.
Actually, I was lately racing with Chrysson and another DCL pilot, Creator Gamer, in real life. We met up, and it was absolutely insane to see Chrysson's improvement. I raced with him like last year at some point, and there was still like, I can beat him, it's no problem, but he's gotten way too fast. Like, I mean, I can still kind of hold up with him, but I can for sure not win every heat. Probably, maybe 50-50, maybe not even that. It's just insane.
So of all the races the three of you did, who won the most of them?
The thing is, we didn't like do the super official races. I think pace-wise,
so it was Chrysson, then, that's what you're saying.
Probably Chrysson. But we surely had some amazing races. It wasn't like Chrysson completely dominated. Like Creator won some, I won some, Chrysson won some. It's always hard to tell. Our timing system didn't work properly, so we couldn't actually race it out. But Chrysson was really fast.
But it's great that you guys got together and did some real life stuff as well, because I know the community's desperate for it, and we're desperate to do it again as well, and it will happen. It's just, there's huge logistical questions over bringing 32 pilots from literally all over the world, from West Coast America to East Coast Australia and New Zealand and so on, like to bring all these teams and people together, and then all the production team and all the crew and Jess, she has to bring ears with her for a cat outfit or whatever. It's a lot of work, isn't it? And I have to wear a hat. It's tons of stuff to do, and we really desperately want to do it, don't we? Need to get some real life flying, but so it will happen. But it's not as easy as people think. Oh, COVID's gone now. Let's get on with it. No, we have a lot of people come from a lot of places. Which is one of the great things about DCL. When we do real life flying, we really go for it, and hope it will continue soon. And the plans are coming, but we can't say more than that.
Yeah, that said, whilst we won't be doing any official DCL in real life events this year, we are going to be guests at various other events, tournaments, etc. So we'll have our little stand. We'll have Pressure with a drone that he's been building. He's actually been building a few drones. We'll be able to show them off, and you'll be able to play DCL the game. And so the coming up on this weekend on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday and Sunday, I found out today. There will be Swiss Drone Days, it's called. So the Swiss Drone League has, the first day is kind of more expose, etc. And the second day will be the official Swiss Drone League race. So a lot of amazing Swiss pilots will be there, some of which are actually DCL pilots. So our full support to them on that day. And if you guys are in Dubendorf, Switzerland, I'm honestly have no idea where in Switzerland that is. But if you are in that general area, and to be fair, Switzerland, how big is Switzerland really? Like, Can you? Surely
You
can
can
go from
fly
one day
into Zurich, which is kind of, roughly speaking, in the
It's
middle.
in the middle, right?
And get to the eastern border, which is where Liechtenstein is, which is where Vaduz is.
That's what I did.
Yeah, you can get there in 2 hours by train. So my point is, from the roughly middle of Switzerland to the very easternmost point, you can do that in 2 hours by train. And it's a beautiful train journey, actually, alongside a lake and mountain. Like, oh, there's a mountain. That's nice. Oh, there's a mountain. All the scenery is nice. Ooh, yeah, it's a beautiful part of the world. Of course, been over there a few times with doing the racing in Vaduz in Liechtenstein, which you can't get to by train. You have to get a train to Buch in eastern Switzerland, and then get a bus, because they don't have a train station in the whole country. Hello.
Oh,
Producer
I had a chauffeur
Freshie is
come pick me
stepping in.
up.
There's Vaduz down in the bottom right, just above Sagan. And near Buch, so you can get a train to Buchs or to Sargans, I think, but I've done it to Buchs. And Zurich is the big thing beginning with Z, and towards the left of it, near the Flab Museum, which is probably not pronounced like that, but I'm going to stick with a Flab Museum.
We did our Christmas party, the DCL Christmas party, 2 to 3 years ago, or whenever it was COVID safe to do so, at St. Gallen. That was fun.
Hang on.
We ate fondue
Hang on.
St. Gallen.
You did a DCL Christmas party?
Hey, I didn't organize it.
Hang on a minute.
The only reason I went was because I was in Munich and someone could drive me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to go.
Oh. The only reason I didn't go is because I didn't know there was a DCL Christmas party. Yes.
It was for DCL. I shouldn't talk about these things.
You
anyway,
sound very confident that everything is fine about this. You are not in any way flustered.
Yes. Because I did nothing wrong here. I just went to try understand colleagues who speak Swiss German and Austrian German, which are both languages I do not understand because I speak German. And so I don't know if you have this problem, Thomas, but when I go to Switzerland or Austria, I just switch
because you
to
go
a
to
different
Switzerland,
language
things
because
like Christmas
I do
parties,
not understand what they are saying.
Well, if they really start speaking their like Swiss German dialect or whatever, like even like Bavaria, if they start speaking their dialect, then it gets hard for me as well. I mean, you can usually get the idea from context and everything, but it is a little bit different for sure.
My mom's Bavarian, but she speaks like Hochdeutsch, and I remember when I was little and I'd visit Bavaria kind of to visit the family and stuff, a lot of her friends were from Bavaria, born and raised, and had the accent. And it's not necessarily that they spoke the dialect, but just the accent. I would just look at her and she'd say exactly the same thing, but without the accent, and I understood. And I was like, okay, I know that I'll have mastered German the day I understand what they're saying in Bavaria.
So back to the Christmas party, Jess.
Anyway,
right.
Back to drones and drone racing, because that is what we are here for. At the end of the day, I mean, I could talk about accents and languages the whole day because this is something I am actually very passionate about and follow way too many people on TikTok for. But we are here because we'd like to know more about Star and Gilbert. And Gilbert, I wanted to know, so Star is talking, just saying that he, with some of the crew, went and did some in real life practice together. Have you been able to meet up with any UK pilots who are kind of not too far away to be able to practice? Or have you been able to go to any in real life tournament? Has there been essentially any of that?
I've been to a few tournaments, and practice sessions. There are a fair few people in my local area I train with. And also Clone Number 1, who's also on China Dragons. We've done a few races together, so that's been fun.
Yeah, so there's there's a number of UK pilots now, sort of getting into the scene. We've always had them, of course. You got to look at Luke Bannister, who won the first ever season back in 2016. We in the UK, we can fly a bit. He says, not referring to himself, because I'm not good. But yeah, so Lego, and I know he's a bit of a rival of yours as well, isn't he? Someone you want to beat?
Oh yeah. He's another pilot who we've both improved a lot together, raced each other a lot on other sims. So yeah, I do want to be him.
And so he's a good guy. Yeah, but like you say, he races with you, Star. What do you know about? What can you say about Lego Clone number 1?
He's surely one of our greatest pilots. Like every time he was able to race for us, he scored a ton of points. And yeah, he's just one of those guys. He doesn't even need as much practice as most guys, but whenever it's race day, he just shows up and performs great. Sadly, he wasn't able to race in race 2. I mean, we all got other appointments and real life stuff, so that sadly didn't work out. But I still think we got good replacements. Not that I would blame anyone here. So Lego, great pilot. He's super dedicated to drone racing in general. Like the amount of effort he puts in, not just in the sims, but also real life and doing stuff around the community, which is of course a very important part about drones. Just a great guy to be around and to practice with.
It's really nice because every time I hear, like, I know you're not going to trash talk your own teammates, but I feel like it's every time we hear pilots talking about each other and sometimes about rivals as well, there's just such positivity about it. They're always all like really great people and super like motivating, and it's just really a very nice community for this. I know I say this a lot, but it's still every time
we all feel it, don't we?
Never ceases to amaze me.
It has to be said every time. Like the community, the rivalries, but also the friendships. Like as long as we're not on the track, I think everyone is just great. But just don't set us up on the same race, because then we get the biggest opponents that you can imagine.
Yeah, that's legit. Star, how did you get started in drone racing? Or just drones as like a general concept?
For me, it was like this classic thing that probably at least 50% of the community has done. Like, I was recommended a random YouTube video for like, I think it was someone freestyling in a bando somewhere. And once you click on one of those, you're kind of on the hook and you just can't stop. So I watched a couple of those, and a day later I knew I got to get into this, read up on it, started building my first quad. Didn't take the advice of everyone to start practicing in a sim. So I went out with my quad without any practice. Took a short flight, because, as I said, I had no idea how to fly those things. But yeah, back then I was absolutely into freestyling, and I had a lot of fun with like a few locals just ripping around some trees and stuff. And I at this point think is really funny. I always thought like, oh my god, racing is so boring. You're just going around in circles and you can't even fly that much. And why would anyone do that? So kinda turned around when 3 years later I started racing in sims. Once I had like the first few days on a sim, racing actually against other times, that completely kicked off my ambition. Was like, okay, I'm top 500. That can't be okay. I need to be top 400 at least. And when I got 400, I wanted to be top 100. And then you just start going down the rabbit hole, and at some point you're like, oh, I gotta be top 5 on this track, and it's still not ending. So that's kinda how I got here, because I just never was able to stop to be like, yeah, this is enough. This is fine. Always wanted to improve more, and yeah, here we are.
I mean, that competitive spirit is really important, right? You can never coast at this kind of thing because, I mean, we can be honest. It's a bit cutthroat, some of this, isn't it? We're the world championship. People want these spots. Team want these spots. Pilots want these spots. Gilbert, I'm always fascinated whenever we get a chance to talk to teams who do these internal, competitions for places. And XBlades started it. XBlades were the first team that I'm aware of to have an internal race for positions. For years now, they've been doing this. I know a couple of other teams do it now as well. I'm not sure every team does it, but Gilbert, you've been around, but you had to earn your space on this floor, didn't you? The teams nominate 12 pilots at the start of the season, but they can choose any 4 of them to race any of our events, and you've got to fight to get one of those, haven't you? So tell us your experience of that, because that's something we don't get to see.
So last year I was basically thrown straight into it. I think it was a day or two after I was told I was on the team, we had internal trials, so racing everyone. That was quite scary. I didn't do great. So the whole of last year I wasn't picked for that team of 12. I never did good enough. So in the off season I was grinding. I really wanted to make that team. And then I did at the start of the season. So race one, I think I came fifth. Oh no, sixth for race one. So on the team of four. Race two, Ashton couldn't make it, so I knew I had a chance. My manager told me he was looking at me for that race. Yeah, I managed to get third in that one, so it was a good performance. But I'm gradually getting better, learning the format. I think I've improved a lot at racing under pressure and consistency through doing those.
There's a story, isn't there, Gilbert, about you nearly getting in the 2021 season. You told me before the season started that you beat most of the pilots on the team, but you fill me in, Gilbert, because I remember there's something about you beat most of the pilots on the team, but it was on a run that didn't count for an internal trial. Have I got that right?
Yeah, so we do the race flow format. People that have done multiplayer on DCL will be familiar with it. So you have a warm up and then you go into race after doing that warm up. So we were doing, it was 2 or 3 warm ups on the track before racing because we were learning a brand new track. So the race started too early. So we did a race that we weren't meant to do, but the manager left it running and I got second. Best performance I've ever got in trials, and it didn't count, which is quite sad. And it actually happened again last trials for race one. This time, a pilot had a game crash before a race, so we reran it just for them, but only their position counted. Second again, didn't count, but hopefully I'll get a real one someday.
And it was a bit of a surprise that Ashton wasn't racing in LAX. So you mentioned just now. That's not a comment on you being there instead of him. All I'm saying is he's been in DCL's run, in their 4 pilots for. I mean, honestly, I'm tempted to say every race since we went virtual in 2020, and I'm pretty confident that that's right. Because he returned, like we had him race with us in real life in one of our old seasons, and then we didn't see anything of him for a while. And then in 2020, he was back. It was like, great, Ashton's back. Where's he been? And he was pulling out times and getting points and winning races for XBlades, and it was phenomenal. And I think since all of our races in 2020 and 2021. And in the first one of this season, I think Ashton's been in all of those starting lineups, and so was Dark X, and MTK was obviously there throughout many of the seasons prior to this one. So Ashton not being in this one was there a reason for that? I mean, you don't have to go into lots and lots of details, Gilbert, but did you beat him, or could he just not make this one?
All I know is he was doing something in real life.
Okay.
So
yeah.
couldn't race. And then that was the point. I knew I had a chance without him there.
Yeah. I mean, you take that opportunity, right? Because those opportunities are going to be, slim, particularly when you're in a team full of incredible pilots, XBlades, including yourself. But now that you've done it and you've made it to that front 4, nobody's going to get that place without them sort of ripping it away from you, right?
Yeah, I'll try my best, but there's a lot of quick pilots. Lee Ashton will be back for other races this season. And it's not just the pilots that have raced on Fight Against. There's so many other people grinding for it that really want this spot. So it'll be difficult to stay, but hopefully I can.
Nate. Oh, good on Nate. Hello, Nate. Nice to have you with us, of course. Gilbert might not be an OG in DCL, but he's been flying sims for very long. Yes, Gilbert, you have been, haven't you? Like I said, first time we've seen you racing in the DCL, but you've been with XBlades for a while. You know your way around a simulator or two. So a lot of flying experience, which is why, XBlades would pick you, because they're not in the habit of picking pilots that aren't, phenomenal, to be frank.
Yeah, I started Sims back in 2016. I picked up DRL because it was free at the time. DCL Sim didn't exist then. And I never really tried to do really well. Most of it was just battling my dad, trying to beat his times. And then, lockdown, I started doing sim competition, and then I just kept wanting to do better and better till I got here. Yeah.
And you got to keep getting better because the hunger for that spot is obviously very, very strong. Thomas, you're team captain of China Dragons. What's your process? I think we've chatted about this maybe once in an interview during one of the live events. What's your process for getting your 4 pilots and choosing who they're going to be?
So for our 4 pilots, we don't have like this kind of strict format like internal trials as Gilbert just described it. We just do a lot of team practice together, like at least twice a week, and if it's race week, probably even more. And we just take stats. So usually me and Ronnie, 2 weeks before a race, we sit down, we look at all the stats that we got, and then we just make our best educated guess as to who we think will be doing the best on race day. So we also take into consideration how everyone performs under pressure, what's like their grinding pace, but also what's their consistent pace in the race. Then like we really kind of subjectively try to figure out who's the fastest. And sometimes it's even like factors like time zones can be a huge thing because DCL races, they always move a little bit. And if you pick an American pilot that has to fly at 2 a.m. at night, then you might be better off picking someone that's based in China that can race in normal midday time or whatever. So yeah, for us, it's not that clear of a process, which might actually be a bit bad for our pilots because they themselves don't exactly know what they have to do to get picked. But at the end, I think we always manage to get a pretty good roster, and I think most pilots always understand why someone has been picked, and we try to explain to our pilots why we picked them. So generally speaking, very different from XBlades, I guess. But for us, that's the way we work it, just because it gives us the best flexibility and gives us the ability to just pick who we think is the best at that point, and it's not about, oh, that guy just messed up one run and now he's out kind of thing. That's what we just don't like.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Is it something you've considered doing? Have you thought about having, an internal trial or something like that?
Well, we never like discussed this for long because just like the system that we have right now, we're really happy with it, and it also usually gives a lot of pilots, especially at the start of the season, we try to rotate a little bit to see who does better under pressure. Like for example, you saw in race 2, we started with Creator and oh damn, who was it? Oh, that's embarrassing. I don't know my own team, but whatever. We rotated some pilots, and that just gives everyone the ability to race. Not necessarily everyone, but everyone that is on the level that we need. And that's just something that.
Were you talking about Vaduz?
Yeah, I think it was Nitro, Kenny, Creator, and you.
Nitro switched to SSX this season, so
no, it was J-Box, wasn't it?
It was not
J-Box was in Vaduz, yeah. It was J-Box
you're talking about
in
Lax.
Vaduz, but like in Lax, we switched for G-Man and G-Man Creator, yeah.
Oh, true, yeah, G-Man
and Kenny.
Yeah, exactly. So a few rotations there.
Kenny.
Yeah, Kenny, of course. Who doesn't love Kenny? Yeah, so we just switched around, and last season we kind of settled on a roster at the end for the last 2 or 3 races because at that point we were pretty confident in that one, and I mean it worked out really well there. And right now we're still trying out what works best for us, and we still got 3 races to figure out what we want to do.
No, without any spoilers, are there any changes that we should be looking out for possibly in the roster for the next race? If you know it. I don't know if you know the roster.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, there you go. So we announced the rosters in race week, so they will go public next week. You'll be able to find them. Jess, you'll be able to find them on our website, won't you, when they get announced next week? Is that right?
Technically, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're on holiday, aren't you, Jess? You'll be on holiday, so you'll be partying again. And
no, I'll just be lying on a rock on the beach doing nothing.
On a rock?
Drinking a lot of water because staying hydrated.
You should try a bed or a sand or something. I don't know if you're very familiar, but rock's not my first choice.
No, some beaches are like rocky beaches.
Yeah, I live in
They
the
don't
UK.
have like
Yeah,
sand.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Again, I live
like
in the
sandy
UK.
beaches are nice, but then you end up with sand. And rocky
Yeah.
beaches are cool because then you can jump off of cliff into the water. And I like that.
Oh, we need to get someone with a quad following Jess down, right? That's just good. Filming.
There's a video the
Coyote
friend
kind of
took,
crashing
but yeah,
in.
it's not with a drone. Anyway, yes, it will be available on the website, but we will, of course, be posting all this information on all of the social channels, on Discord, etc. So there is no way that you can miss, if you follow us, because you should be following us, all of the pilots for the Reuter race will be announced, and you'll get to see who made the cut this time, based off of XBlades' tough super race thing method, or China Dragon's also tough but in a different way method. I mean, every team has their way of doing things, and I don't think there's a right or wrong way, especially every team.
No.
Oh, that's me. Every team has their own team. You know, the pilots and things on teams are different, and it works differently. And what's important is that everyone gets along and that you all do your best. I sound like a preschool
Everybody
mother.
do their best.
Gold star for trying.
It does sound a little bit like, hey, as long as we all do our best, then who cares who wins at the end of the season, right? Let's stop having points.
See, I would be up
Participation
for
awards
that.
for everybody. Yeah?
Snaps for everyone.
Yes, please.
I've become a stereotype. Star, we are often in chat because you and I are besties, but also in the draft track there are some shortcuts to be found, and as my beautiful social media post detailed, one of the things that make you a pro is not only being really, really fast, but finding the ways to get even faster, and shaving off that 1/10 of a second makes a complete difference. So when you find shortcuts on a track, even if they're really risky, if you can take them, you beat everyone time and you win. So I believe this happened on the draft track. Maybe you can tell us what exactly was that happened, who was involved, how much time it took, and we can then see the final results.
Yeah, so actually we're talking about the draft 2020 track, I think. Yeah, it was a prop town track. It's such a classic. I mean, at this point, it's pretty old, obviously, from 2020. And the leaderboard has some really good times on it, and everyone knows that track. And one day I was actually talking to Freshie, who is also here with us producing the show. So hi, Freshie. And we were talking a little bit about drones and lines and how to fly them, because of course for him it's also important to understand these things if he wants to do a broadcast. And it was actually me, Andreas, and him talking about lines, and we were trying to figure that track out. And Andreas and me, we both raced in the 2020 draft on that track. And I was remembering that back then I found a line that was insanely risky, super tight, and basically impossible. And I tried that back in the day, but I had no chance of actually getting it done. It was way too tough for me at that point. And other pilots, like Andreas as well, they tried it back then, and they also were like, yeah, there's no way anyone can set a good time with this. So,
and that wasn't during the racing, was it, Star? That was this is just practicing, right?
Yeah, during practice we figured that line out. We just didn't try it because it wasn't viable. And at that point, we just gave up on the line. And now, 2 years later, we were talking to Freshie about this, and he was like, "Yeah, I bet you can't set a world record using that line twice." And of course, I mean, Andreas and me were both very, very ambitious pilots. We were like, "Yeah, okay, challenge accepted. We're gonna do this right now." And yeah, I grinded the track. Took me actually I practiced that shortcut line because it was so tough for 2 hours, and I started to get somewhere, so I took a break. As I said earlier, breaks are always important. Took a night to let the muscle memory sink into my fingers, and then the next day I hopped on, tried it again for 20 minutes, and managed to actually get the new world record. So that was really nice.
So 2 hours of grinding, a little bit of a break, gets his head in the game, and then Star got this run.
Yeah, so this is the part. Usually we would just go straight through and straight back. But there is this weird line that you just saw where you do a barrel roll right into the construction site. You gotta time it perfectly with the stairs on the left and the right side. And then even after you manage to catch your drone, which you're gonna see here again, there is this stair.
What?
Which you can't even see because it's so fast.
Insane.
You also have to dodge.
So I mean, this has been released on our social media, and I've watched it a few times, and we've got a slower version of it as well. But oh my god, I've seen some things, and I've been pushed to talk quickly about them in commentary as well. But this one, I'd have been scratching my head, going, "Wait, I'm not sure what I'm telling people happened."
Yeah, so that's why I gave DCL the slow-mo as well, so we can figure it out together. So you see at the bottom there are these 2 yellow pylons. Usually you would just go straight through and back, but you can, as I said, cut through this tiny gap here. And if you manage to catch your drone just perfectly here, you're still not done, because on the left side you see this staircase, and that just killed me so many times. And just to be clear, if you do this basically perfectly, it gained a tenth of a second versus a normal line from Thunder that had the world record back then.
But we also talked about it a lot and go, "Oh, no way!"
Yeah, so that's why Freshy took the bet, because he knew that the gap was just so small and it wouldn't make any big difference. But he probably underestimated the ambition that I put into actually do it. So yeah, there we go. New world record on that track.
I mean, so I thought, no disrespect to you, Thomas, I just assumed that when you said you were grinding it, I thought the number was going to be more than 2 hours. I thought you were going to be like, "Oh yeah, so I grinded this for a weekend and then finally managed it." And all credit to you, because this is quality flying. Everybody, look at that.
To be fair,
yes,
I would
and
have
also
thought
well
I
done to
could
the
have
DCL
done it.
production team. The DCL production team and that edit, the little yes from you at the end, that's just perfect. That bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's him.
Yeah, is it yours, Freshy? If that was producer Freshy's work, then for you, producer Freshy, there you go.
Well, it was Freshy that.
It's just terrifying. That was
Star.
It was
Star.
It was Freshy that told me that I have to do a live recording if I want to win the bet.
Oh, so I thought Freshy just took credit for it. That's not a. Donuts in chat doing that once is insane, but twice just well. Yeah, I know. And I mean, if you watch this thing at full speed the first time you see it, wait, what?
You don't want to
it
know
already looks
how many
impressive
times...
just because of all the pillars and all the things you avoided. And then when you realize actually where you've threaded it, oh wow.
Yeah, you really.
So you actually spotted that in the. So when did I get that right? So you spotted that possibility in the practice that you got when you first saw that track ahead of race day.
In the draft race 2020, yeah. So that was one of those 24-hour practice windows where I actually spotted that. And I was talking with a lot of other pilots about it. A lot of those guys are DCL pilots or were DCL pilots at this point. And everyone was like, "Yeah, that's insane. And if you get it right, it's probably so much faster. That's so great." And everyone was like, "Yeah, I tried it for 3 hours. I have no idea how to do it. It's probably not viable. Just go straight." And everyone just went straight. And I mean, that's absolutely fine. As I said, that shortcut gained me 0.1 seconds against Thunder's run. And probably if Thunder really grinded that track more, he could get the normal line faster again. I don't know. So yeah, I would not really recommend the line. Risk and reward it's not there. But it was so much fun to just challenge myself a little bit there.
I don't know if this will actually work, but I'd like to extend that challenge to the community. I'd like to go, right, you guys, you've got DCL the game, whatever you've got it on, can you fly that? And I want to see videos of people making that and not making that. I'd quite happily see people crash, get it through. If you've if you can film yourself in DCL the game playing that and try and get a reaction of you as well. We'd love to see you personally doing it, whoever you are. But that would be great, I think. I don't know how we could get the content into the show, but wouldn't that be nice, Jess, producer Freshie?
Oh, that would
could we
be
maybe find a way to
amazing.
throw people's runs of that? Can you make that star record run? Perhaps look at our social media.
We can definitely share it. We can definitely share it on our socials. And yeah, next time we have, if by the next What the Quad show you've submitted some cool stuff, we're always happy to show community content on What the Quad, because this is about obviously getting to know the pros and showing their achievements, but also putting a spotlight on what the community has achieved.
Yeah, send us your runs. Yeah, send us your runs. We'll tell you how on social media, because you'll have to tag it with something or send it directly or whatever. But yeah, let's try and collect some of those. Can you make that run? And if you want to see it again, it's on DCL social media. It was shared a couple of days ago. Can you make stars
on our Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter? So yeah, you can, even on our Discord announcements, if you're looking for it, you can see stars run there. And if you want to try it, record yourself, feel free, post it on socials, tag us so we can see it, and we'll see if there are any good ones. We will definitely share.
Don't be shy. I want to see some failed ones as well. Because you can't just show people making it, because then it looks really easy. Like, show us you just smashing a controller because you can't make it. I'm happy to see that too.
I probably had some great fails, like doing it perfect in lap 1 and just getting a stupid mistake in lap 2. So
yeah, it usually be like that though, don't it? Gilbert, back to you though. I was curious as to how you got started. So, you told us of how you got started in DCL, but how you started in drones as a whole. So, Thomas was talking about getting YouTube videos. What happened on your side? What inspired you to join this great sport and become the legend that you are?
So my family went to dinner with the person that lived opposite us. We knew them fairly well. And Mark, who lived there, was into RC planes and helicopters. I'd known that for a while, but he was just getting into quads. And he showed me this quad, and it was great. And my dad was really interested. So he got just a small drone, like a toy one, started flying it, and went to fly it with him. And then came back and bought something bigger. So I got to have a go. I flew them. That was back in 2016, and since then I've been flying with them on and off. Yeah.
Awesome. It's always cool to see how different people get in different ways, but you all made it here, I guess. And you've been doing some real life competitions as well, right? So how have those been going? Do you feel like you've kind of gotten to a good level, or do you feel that there's still work to be done? Have you been finished first? What are your accomplishments there?
I've done a few smaller races, so I only started doing them after lockdown, really, actually going to race events. I was more just casually flying in the field before. So I managed to win 2 of these events now. This was footage from my second win, which was a few weeks ago. It's not the best footage. I'm not the most experienced in real life, but I'm fairly happy.
A win's a win, Gilbert. Don't take it away from yourself.
Yeah. So this is after, I think, about 4 sessions of 6S flying. I'm fairly happy with it.
This is, where's this?
This is in Hertfordshire.
You won this one in Hearts. Yeah. So this is, what are we talking about? A few weeks back, a month or 2 ago?
This was just a few weeks ago, like maybe 2 weeks, something like that. Yeah. Not long ago.
Great. So after you join XBlades, of course, so people are looking at you going, "Oh, it's an XBlades pilot." You in your XBlades jersey with your fancy bag.
I didn't bring the jersey or the bag. I don't want that pressure.
Fired.
I might have to
Oh no!
start.
Don't tell XBlades that. You didn't want the pressure. No, fair enough. I can understand that. Don't tell anyone. I didn't wear the stuff.
General question: if in the UK, if you go to a race and you show up with an XBlades shirt, jersey, whatever, do people automatically go like, "Oh, wow, okay"?
I haven't actually been to a race where someone's in an XBlades jersey. I think I will do next weekend. But I've heard people talk about XBlades, and they have a reputation of if you show up in a jersey, you're going to be right at the top. Yeah.
Fair
And
enough.
of course, XBlades will be a team that people have heard of, all around the world, but particularly in the UK, being a UK-based org, and are multiple-time world champions and so on. So I can imagine, turning up for a UK drone race in a XBlades jersey as a pilot for them, as opposed to a fan. I'm not sure if you can buy their jerseys. I do know of at least one person who's got a jersey of XBlades who isn't on the team. My son. Thank you, XBlades, for that. He's a big fan. But I don't know if they sell them to anybody else. So I guess people would think, oh, okay, so you're an XBlades pilot. And I imagine that puts a bit of a target on your back as well.
Yeah. And I will try at some point. People know now.
Yeah. You're known now. Did you say you're going to be seeing some next weekend? Are you going up to Weston Park by any chance?
I'm going to Laxton, I think, next weekend. Not Weston.
So I don't mean next weekend. I mean, you said in a couple of weeks. So I wondered if you were going up to the BDRA event in Weston Park, which is the same weekend as DCL.
BDRA event in Laxton next weekend. So it's a different BDRA race.
Different. Okay, that's the British Drone Racing Association for people who haven't heard of them before. Brilliant organisers here in the UK. Cool. Okay. Well, good luck with that next weekend. Send us some footage. We want to see more people flying. Thomas, you had that recent meetup with the guys and did some real life flying with them. Was real life competitions any in your future?
Yeah, what you see here, that's Kryson, by the way, is from last weekend. No, 2 weeks ago.
Why did it have Kryson just falling down?
Well, because that's the thing with Kryson and me. Whenever we race together, we will... Wait, there we have it again. Whenever Kryson and me are in the same heat, then Kryson just manages to find my quad in mid-air. Either me, him, or both of us out of the air. That's just how every heat between us has to end.
Right.
Yeah, we had this meetup, and it was super fun to fly.
You put this together yourself, right?
Yeah, this
isn't an event. This is your practice setup.
Yeah, we call it an annual boot camp. So we have 4 or 5 days of drone racing with some of us German fast boys and girls as well. So yeah, we're just having a good time. It's kind of like a vacation as well, because this one, for example, was in Kiel, where it's just northern Germany with a little bit of beach and everything. So we're just having a great time together. As we mentioned earlier, it's all about the community at the end. So
yeah,
stuff like that is just super fun to organize. And I see we now can see Kryson's quad in all his glory. You don't get that many frames per second, but that was just a picture perfect hit from him. And you see his battery ejecting right there. That battery was dead afterwards, but I kept flying, so that was okay for me.
Oh, excellent. That is great footage.
Yeah. We do miss real life racing for things like this.
Crashes. It's a carbon fiber left in museums and stuff like that. Those were the days. They'll be back. We'll break a few buildings and quads in real life in the future. It will happen. Can't say any more. Hold tight. Good old days. But good racing coming up as well. So you mentioned, Jess, we've got our next stop. That's just under 2 weeks away when we race around Reuter in Austria, in our beautiful castle location there, which is where the DCL began. It was born in Vaduz in Liechtenstein. That's where the DCL used to be based, hence Vaduz being very important to us. But the very first DCL race ever was Hang on, have I got those the wrong way around? No, it was Reuters
No,
first,
that's
wasn't it?
right. I mean, technically,
Yeah, in
we were in
2016.
Rugel,
Ah.
but the DCL HQ and a part of the office is still in Rugel.
Yes.
And that's so that
Vaduz was kind of the home of the
Liechtenstein.
DCL.
But yeah, Vaduz is the big
Yeah.
city that was like had interesting locations, because having been to Rugel, it's a lot more fun to race in Vaduz. It's not like the most
And you say it's a
interesting
big city. It
city.
really isn't. It really isn't a big city.
Yeah, I mean, for Liechtenstein standards.
Yes, it's most of Liechtenstein, as far as I understand it. It is. I mean, Liechtenstein is something like the 6th smallest country in the world, so it's a beautiful place, though. But Reuter was where we did our first ever race back in 2016, and then we did it virtually.
Bannister won.
Yeah, and he won that season as well, when it used to be an individual season before we went to team racing. And then we brought it back. It was last year, I think, was the last time we've seen Reuter, but in a virtual setting. Although we did use it for the 2019 Cannes International Games Festival draft that we did as well, but that was a few years back now. Yeah, Reuter returns on Saturday, the 18th of June. So not this Saturday coming, but the one after, when we're back with the third stop of the year. And China Dragons, good first virtual drone Grand Prix for you, but I said the second one was a little bit disappointing. XBlades not managed to get the win yet. And Gilbert, obviously you were part of the team who were racing in Lax, got to the final, met Raiden in the final, lost to Raiden in the final. It looked, for some of your pilots who we know well, having seen them for a lot of previous races, particularly talking about Killian, to be honest, Dark X, it looked like that hurt. It looked like losing in Lax to SDT Perpetuum coin in the round robin, which was a big surprise, let's be honest, and then losing to Raiden at the end of the day. That looked like it hurt your pilots. And, great effort, runners up in a virtual drone Grand Prix, nothing to be, ashamed of there. Nevertheless, a few of those losses and the loss of the day, that looked like it hurt XBlades. Is that right?
Well, the loss to SDT, we were a bit disappointed, but we definitely bounced back from that one. And we did fly well the rest of the day. I think the first race was so close, so still disappointment from there. And also, on the same track, we beat Raiden by a decent margin in the round robin. So we really expected to win. We thought that would be a relatively easy one to win, but their pace, they just stepped it up. They were much quicker.
Yeah, and I mean that was big news. SDT Perpetuum Coin had not beaten a team head to head in the round robin, or well, in any of the stages of DCL since they became a permanent team in 2021. They go and get their first outright win over you guys. That one is the one everybody wants to have. So yeah, that I remember we were going to interview Dark X straight after that, and he looked distraught. To be honest, no offense to him, he looked like, wow. Yeah, we couldn't stop that one. So what's the atmosphere like within XBlades? You're in this position we haven't seen you in of not being the reigning world champions, as we mentioned earlier on, but also now being beaten twice in finals. Season's by no means over, of course, but that's got to hurt a little bit.
I quite like the environment there. I think it was quite good. We were very positive the whole day. Just fell apart in the final. There was one big heat, I crashed 3 or 4 times. It went completely wrong, and we all just laughed at it, and it was fine. We bounced back. It's just that final was difficult.
I mean, bouncing back on this stuff is, for both mentally and physically, and also the quad, is super important, of course. So this isn't something that's sort of getting to XBlades. Then they're not feeling like, oh wait, we're under pressure and we can't. Or we're the underdogs now. That I can't imagine being an XBlades mindset.
I think it just makes us want to win more. That seems to be the mentality in the team.
Yeah, and we've come across that before. MCK racking up wins for XBlades will then turn around and go, I need to practice more than 19 hours a day for the next event. It's like, you've just won every race and got tons of points, and but I've got to practice more. And nobody takes it for granted at XBlades. It's intense. And China Dragons, I would be surprised to see you bottom of the leaderboard again. Star, I know you wouldn't want to be there, of course. If you were asked, Star23467 by me, where do you think China Dragons can finish this season? I know you'd like to say on top and be first. Would that be the only answer?
I mean, saying we will be on top might be a little far-fetched just from the start of the season. But we surely are trying to get onto the podium. And with that second race, we kind of put a huge task upon our sleeves now. So we just got to be getting much better than there. And it's always tough making predictions like this. I don't want to jinx anything either. But yeah, we're just having...
You don't have to answer. You don't have to answer because I sympathize having said it because I don't like pushing people for predictions. But I'm always interested to know where a team thinks, what their objective is for the season.
I mean, obviously, for any team, the objective is kind of always, I want to be better than last season, because why would you race it otherwise? So since we got that fourth place in 2021, we for sure are gunning for that podium, at least getting it more often than last season. But as I said, the start wasn't that great. We just gotta bounce back, as Gilbert just said, which is important. So gotta make sure we don't do the same mistakes again and see if we can do better this time.
I think, we've been celebrating, frankly, on the streams how well China Dragons are doing now, because it was, for a number of years, 2018, 2019 kind of time, a team who were always getting knocked out in those early stages, like I mentioned earlier on, and it was a bit tough. It was disappointing performances for you guys. So it's been so joyful to celebrate it going well for you now. It's been, and as I've been involved in DCL for all these years now, I've genuinely been delighted to see you guys doing well. It is always tough on somebody else because they're the ones getting beaten, but it has been great to see China Dragons, who've been with us for so long, like it really, really coming together. And okay, we're not going to write it off from out of lax, but of course, more events like Vaduz would be great to see. More finals for you guys, because you look so pleased when you're in them as well as you should do. It's a huge achievement.
Yeah, first of all, thanks from our whole team, I guess. We really do want to get into these small finals. That's like at least our main objective. And yeah, not getting them really hurt, especially since we just kind of started getting used to them and we liked it. But at the end, we only have 6 teams in this league. So it's so hard because all of the teams this season are so strong. You really can't count anyone out. And if you just mess up 1 or 2 heats, it can be it for the day, kinda. So really, that really emphasizes the need for consistency this season even more, because really any slight mistake can ruin your whole day. It can be 1 heat point at the end of the day that's the difference between grand final and nearly being 5th place. Maybe not that harsh, but it's so close, and that also makes it super fun. But yeah, we just gotta get better at securing those points. Also,
I think.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, go Star.
What kind of hurts us maybe this season, so it's something that we're working on for sure, is that we were always last season really good at tying other teams, because while our team we don't have a Min J Kim, we don't have a Thunder, we don't have a Dark X, we don't set the first place times, but we have a really balanced long roster that can get the 2nd and 3rd places in nearly every heat. And that works really great for us, especially last season, because if you tie everyone, then you're still going to get a great spot on the leaderboard. But this season, with the big heats, that changed. Because in the big heat, if you just get 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, which is also kind of a tie, you don't get the points for 5th and 6th place anymore. So we don't tie the teams.
Yeah.
And that's something that we really need to focus on as a team, to actually start getting more points in the big heats. That's the main reason, next to consistency, why we failed in Larks and Race 2. And that's the main point that we need to improve for the next time.
That's a really interesting point.
Didn't think of it that way, but it makes a lot of sense. But I mean, to be fair, Lax was one of those races where it was really anyone's guess throughout the whole thing. And in the background, we talk amongst ourselves between the DCL staff, kind of what we think might happen. And whilst the end result was very similar to Vaduz, the whole middle bit, the points were going all over the place. And like you said, Matt, earlier, SDT won against XBlades, which no one saw coming. And I'm really happy for SDT, obviously, no offense to Gilbert, but it's really nice seeing the new team, coming in and actually showing that they're worthy of being in this league. And it's really lovely to have them, actually grind for it, and that it's not necessarily the expected outcome. As a viewer, at least, I always find it a lot more fun when the big teams aren't necessarily the ones winning. And for a while, between XBlades and Raiden, we were genuinely not sure either would make it to any final, because at first, China Dragons was actually racking up points. Supersonic X had an excellent one, and Quad Force, well, they're always on it, let's be fair. And yeah, SDT just came out of nowhere and just raced like amazingly, like we knew they could this whole time. And it was really good for their confidence, and I really hope they keep it up, because it would be great to see them do more races like that. And hope it's not against the two of you, but it is nice seeing other teams win for a difference. And I do look forward to more races like Lax, because for me, at least the group, I always call it the group stage, the round robin stage, was full of unexpected wins and losses and so much tension. And I have heard that the tracks for Reuter are not easy. So I think that it's going to be some very, very interesting racing coming up.
Shout out to
I
Pressure,
haven't seen the
our
tracks.
track designer, who he's a monster. So none of the pilots have seen the tracks. Let's just emphasize again. None of the pilots get to see the tracks until race day. We give them 1 hour, just 60 minutes, and 2 tracks that they've never seen before. And you have 60 minutes to approach those as a team, learn them how you wish, and then we shut them. And you can't get any more practice on them until a short warm-up, which you get just before it's time to race a team on them. And that, I mean, Star, you've been in this for a couple of seasons now, but Gilbert, that would have been your first experience of that, I guess, when we did Lax. You've not been in that. Well, actually, have XBlades ever simulated that with you guys? Have they ever said, right, 60 minutes, learn these tracks, just to practice that kind of thing?
Yeah, so last year, Pressure was actually our track designer before he joined DCL.
Yes.
So we actually had 15 minutes on each track and then raced it. So yeah, we did exactly the same, which I think helped me a lot.
Okay, 15 minutes.
So half the time we get in the main league. So not long at all.
Yeah. So this season, we open these tracks. There'll be 2 of them. You've got an hour, and everybody on every team does it at the same time, so nobody's got any kind of more advantages on that. How do you approach that hour? Do you have a way of doing it that you like, or does the team set team orders, like you guys go practice this, you guys go practice that?
We intentionally split it up between the team. So we had 2 people on track 1, 2 people on track 2. Then I did 15 minutes on one, 15 minutes on the other, and then did the same thing again. I'm not sure what I'd do if I raced again. I'd probably do similar. And I only put the ghosts of other pilots on about halfway through. Because I wanted to learn my own lines and then see what they were doing. That's what I did anyway.
Ghosts of other pilots?
Yeah, we get access to them all because it's all in one event.
Yeah, okay.
Do you find that working with ghosts is kind of your useful, I mean, yeah, it is useful to learn, but do you prefer really taking the time to completely go at a track alone and then maybe bring in ghosts? Or do you like, when you're on a new track, not necessarily in a race setting, but when you have the option of having ghosts, to from the get-go put in a ghost so that you have someone that's challenging you?
I've experimented with this a lot, and I found that I prefer learning a track alone. I find I'm quicker to learn the track and sometimes even find better lines before sticking someone in.
Yeah.
But as soon as I know the route, I'm confident with my lines, I can just put ghosts on and see what they're doing afterwards.
Star, what about
Star,
you? What's your approach? Yeah.
For me, I always start with one ghost, which I think is a good benchmark time. Like, not necessarily the fastest one, but a fast one, just so I have someone to chase, because I always go faster when I chase someone. Like, in any sports, you kind of get better faster if you have someone that's better than you. The same for me goes for race day. So we don't have a lot of time, and obviously not everyone has set a super fast time, especially at the beginning of those 60 minutes. But I usually choose like one of the other top guys, and just see like how are they approaching some turns. I don't actually watch their ghosts like in the replay mode. I just fly on my own, and then you usually can see just from their ghost if they gap you at some point. Then you know, okay, I got to take the turn a little bit different, or maybe just go a little bit tighter, a little bit smoother, whatever. And from there, I develop my line. At this point, I think, except for crazy shortcuts, everyone flies nearly the same. So it's not like you would expect any major differences in the lines. So it's not like you'd have to watch every single ghost. But as long as you have your team as well kind of watching out for shortcuts, and it's fine if you just take one ghost, challenge that. And especially on race days, they get better during those 60 minutes, you get better during those 60 minutes, and then you just battle it out with them, kind of.
What about in the little warm-ups? So, like I say, we do a 60-minute window when that is the first anybody of our pilots has seen the tracks at all. Like, you don't even get a picture of them in advance. That's your exposure to it. Get that, learn it, get better on it, and you've got 60 minutes, and that's shut down. But then, just prior to your match, say between you guys, right, between Shine Dragons and XBlades, or between any two teams, you get a couple of minutes of warm-up on those tracks. What do you do in that? Gilbert, let's start with you. How do you like to approach that little bit of warm-up time? Are there elements you're practicing, or are you going around the whole thing?
So I haven't had much experience to find what I like doing, but within the team, we always say, because the countdown starts the same time for everyone when the warm-up starts, so we always say this is a race. We're competing against each other. So always finish that one, and I normally just flew complete laps. Just try to get as many in as possible with as few mistakes as possible. Try to find my consistent pace.
Star, what about you? How's your warm-up spent?
Those 6 minutes, I think it's 6 minutes only this season. Last season it was 10 or something. You really have to make them count, because it's so little time before the race to actually get warmed up again, to actually be in race mode. And I use it 100% to train consistency. So unless there is like a really specific element that I'm having issues with, I would always go for full laps and try to build the consistency. Especially a lot of pilots, me included, have this habit of grinding a track, crashing, and then instantly restarting the race. The issue is, though, that puts you back on the podium with a 4-second timer until you can race again. So if you crash into the first gate 10 times, then you kind of already missed a whole minute of those 6 just sitting on the podium. So that's why it's super important to be focused, train consistency, and not waste any time where you really don't have to.
Yeah, I think you can develop bad habits by just hitting restart. Like, I get it in a virtual thing that you want to do that, but I don't think it pays off in the long run to just continually restart. You end up practicing the start of a race course much more than any other part of it too. And also, real life flying, that isn't how we do it, is it? Much as we would love a Control Z from time to time, of course, in all aspects of life, let's all be honest. There's a few things I might have hit Control Z on in the past as well, but just spamming restart. I agree with you, Thomas. I think making your way around is like, get it all practiced. We got an excellent question. We don't explore a lot of, so let's go with that with Devara V. How have I said that, Jess? That sound all right? I think you know this person. asking, are the guys talking to each other on your team during heats? Star, let's start with you. During a race, it's race time, it's heats time. You're up, you're flying. It might be a single heat, it might be a big heat. What's the chatter like?
So, first of all, in the few seconds we have before the race starts, we make sure to hype everyone up to get into the right mood, to be focused, but also to enjoy our time. And then once the timer hits 0, we have calm silence mostly, but we do have 1 or 2 designated spotters on the opponent's drones. So if, for example, we're flying the first bracket and one of our second bracket guys watches Gilbert fly, then he would always monitor him, and if he does a mistake, if he clips a gate or if he actually crashes, he would call that out so that the guys flying know with as little distraction as possible, okay, we can go a little bit off pace or we need to push or whatever. And we try to keep it as little as possible. I know other teams, they call out split times every 5 seconds, and that would just be too much for us. But yeah, we try to focus on the important pilots. We make sure that if we are ahead, that our pilots know that they are ahead to stop making stupid mistakes, for sure. But then this season there's the big heat, which makes it much more difficult because our second bracket, there is no second bracket, so the only one that can make any calls is our team manager, Ronnie, who does it then for us. But he has this insane task of spotting 4 other drones, and even if one of them crashes, it doesn't make such a huge difference for the others. So then we usually focus more on ourselves and be like, okay, that guy, you should push a little more, you can take it a little bit slower, but unless it's something really important that happens in that heat, then we try to keep the comms a little bit more quiet to focus on the race.
Going back to the start, you say you all hype each other up in just a few seconds before the tones are finished and you're all flying. What do you do to hype each other up? Who's the cheerleader on the team? Are you all doing it? Is there a pre-race chant? What's going on?
So we don't have a pre-race cheerleader, no. At the end of last season, Creator Gamer took most of that job, but we're all just having a good time, telling everyone that they're freaking beasts or whatever, that we're just great at flying. Or different approach, we also do that sometimes, especially if we race someone like XBlades. We just calm down a lot and we be like, yeah, guys, this is just training, 3 races next week, just to practice Scrim versus XBlades. Let's just keep calm and race a little bit versus them. And that has worked way better at some point. Also doesn't work at some others, of course. But yeah, we just try to get in a good mood as a team. And yeah, it's very different though.
There's no like, yeah, we're gonna kill him. Yeah, it's XBlades. That's murder XBlades. Yeah, beep beep beep. XBlades beep. That kind of thing. There's no.
Yeah, rarely. The thing is, you can't overhype your pilots, because if you start to actually pressure them too much with that stuff, then you start getting nerves into the game as well, and that's really the last thing you want to do. So remembering everyone that we are good pilots, that we're here for a reason, is probably the better way to go than just overhyping a race just before it starts.
Yeah. What about the XBlade side of things, Gilbert? You had your first taste of live racing action with the team. What was it? What was the environment like? Are you all talking to each other?
We don't talk that much during heats, so we'll say good luck before, and then during heat we'll have someone spots. They say like Star crash, create a game crash. Just tell us where the other team are. So maybe Gilbert, slow down. You've got 2-second gap, or Dark X push. Big heats don't really do that. I was off the pace normally in them, so if I'm behind and see like thunder crashes, I might call it out. We don't say much, just what's necessary, really. Yeah.
I like that you've both referred to each other. I like that Star's gone, yeah, if one of our guys is spotting and it's like, he'll say, oh, Gilbert hit this gate. And then Gilbert's going, so yeah, if somebody's watching, they go like, Star has crashed.
Yeah,
I love
always it. Rivals.
It's a great question, Devara. Thank you for asking that as well. Lego Clone number 1 wants to know, how should you practice to get faster in general? Does anybody want to help your teammate, Star? Does anybody want to help your teammate on how to be less slow?
I would say Gilbert needs to help him because I talk with him about it all the time. Though I know that Gilbert and him talk about all the time as well, so that probably won't work. For anyone else wondering, though, I can share my opinion, which is that first of all, you just gotta put in the time because you can't get faster if you don't put in the time. But then if you're actually on a racetrack and you're actually grinding, then you just need to make sure that you're in a good mood, that you're not just like, if you just grind for grinding, then it's usually not getting you anywhere. But if you're having fun and then start actually improving your times and then start watching maybe a ghost, see why they are faster and focus on like one step at a time. Like you see, okay, I might just load in the number 10 ghost and start racing against that one. And at some point, you might understand the lines better. You start tightening up your ladders, your corkscrews, and then you beat them. And that's, first of all, it's great for your mentality because you see your improvement. And then you can start taking the next one. Not necessarily exactly the next one, but if you set yourself some smaller goals to achieve, that is, at least for me, makes it easier to gain pace in the long run. And then it's just a question of putting in the time and making sure you don't do stupid mistakes or, well, knowing or looking at other guys and seeing how lines have to be taken to be fast.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I don't know why I'm answering this question.
Yes, Jess, tell us, Jess, how do we get to fly faster or less slow?
So how you get to fly faster is you start by not being Jess, and you're already off to a really good start at that point. And if you continue, you basically just don't listen to anything Jess says because it's really not going to help you. So it's probably better to talk to Gilbert, because I think FPV Gilbert will have some great advice that is actually helpful.
Oh yeah.
Here it comes. Go on. Yeah, go on, Gilbert. Give us the advice.
I think the thing to remember is you're not the first person to try and get fast at this. So, so many other people have uploaded runs you can watch. You've got ghosts to race and work out where you need to improve. Even there are some pilots in DCL that do training. I'm sure Clone Number 1 probably wants me to say that. He will train you if you pay him. So things like that. Just look at what other people do and why they're better than you and improve from there.
If you pay him. In Lego, presumably.
I mean, it's a good gig, drone trainer. But I would, to complete that, this community in general is really helpful. And if you're starting out, or even if you've been a while but you want to get better, so obviously follow their advice, because like I said, mine isn't the best. But one thing that I have learned is asking questions. I have learned more about drones and the community and FPV and all of it because I ask questions. And especially if you're new, like I was, it may be daunting to ask, and you may feel like, wow, they're going to think I'm really silly because I'm asking this. But everyone started somewhere. And even if you're, not at the beginning, you can still go further, and no one will ever judge you for trying. So never be afraid to try, to put in the time, and to ask people for advice for what material they think is best, so that you can get that. What tracks do they think help them get better, etc. There will always be someone in the community, and this is where our Discord, and I mean this in a really not promoting DCL way, our Discord server is great for this, that the community is so active on there, always answering questions and helping each other out. And it is a great place to go if you are trying to get better.
Yeah, do.
That's
we'll put the link to the
information.
Discord again in the chat as well. It's a great community in there, and there are people going, help me learn this. What do I need to get started? There's people talking about real life racing as well. Of course, if you do want to put a real life quad together, then there's great great people to help you in there too. And if you haven't played it, then you need to be playing. We're talking about DCL the game, which you can get on Steam. You can also get on PlayStation and Xbox, of course. And Jess, you're just saying about accessibility and people starting out and so on. We have modes in our simulator for everybody, right? You can play it with keyboard and mouse. You can play it with a gamepad. And then if you don't have a real life radio controller, okay, play it with a gamepad. Get used to getting thumbs on sticks. Get used to modes and stuff like that. And if I think my camera may have crashed. I'm sorry. If sorry, I'm going to fix that right now. That's odd.
You can play DCL the game on the platforms Matt said, Steam, Xbox, and PS4. On Xbox and PS4, you can obviously use the Xbox and PS4 controller thingies, but you can also on all platforms technically transmitter. So most transmitters are accepted. You just have to check within the guidelines and things to make sure that whichever is. The only thing is Xbox, because of Microsoft's rule, technically, legally, you're not allowed to have a transmitter there that is not like a Microsoft Xbox controller. However,
driver thing.
There are people in the community who have managed to find ways around that. And so if you ask in our Discord, like Matt said, the link is in the Twitch chat. There will be people who can tell you there how to find, and it is a really great way to start. I mean, YouTube have said it before, putting in time emulator is really helpful because it costs less money, and when you crash, you don't crash an actual thing that you have to pick up and rebuild. Yeah. You can just crash times as you need to be able to get to the level you need to. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Gorgeous. That is a picture.
Oh, well, look at that. There's a find. That's not one I've seen for a while. That's from a couple of years ago, but I'll take that. Thank you very much. Yeah, my camera's fallen over, but you don't like looking at me. People apparently like to hear me, but I'm not sure looking at me is necessarily part of the deal. Yeah, you can have that one. There you go. Freshie right now is probably trying to work on a way of making my mouth go open and shut. Please don't do that. Yeah, sorry, my camera is odd. So anyway, we were talking about the game. So let's say Steam, that's on PlayStation and Xbox. And if you want to see what the pros can do with it, then you want to join us on Saturday, the 18th of June. We're live at 10 a.m. UTC, which is 11 a.m. in the UK, 12 o'clock Central European time. And then if you live east of that, it's later. And if you live west of that, it's earlier. That's how the world works. But 10 a.m. UTC, 11 a.m. UK, 12 Central European time. Somewhere in between, I don't know, let's say 5 and 8 in the morning in the States, depending on where you are, and later elsewhere. But don't worry, all that will be told to you over social media and so on. But that's where you want to join us. Same time as last time. Same time as when we raced a few weeks ago in Lax. We'll be racing in Reuter in Austria on 2 tracks pilots have never seen for the 3rd race of our 2022 calendar. You don't want to miss that, so make sure you join us here on Twitch from 10 a.m. UTC. Not this Saturday, but the Saturday after.
A reminder, though, that this Saturday and Sunday we will be at Swiss Drone Days and the Swiss Drone League race. So all the information about that will either if you Google it or on our socials as well. So come say hi to us there. We'll have some people from the DCL team, a DCL stand, and even some drones. So that's going to be really fun. And the race is the main one, though. We're really, really excited to see both of you racing. I mean, I hope both of you get to race, and if not this time, next time. But no matter who is flying, I do not doubt that it'll be a very exciting race. Are there any last words? Would you guys like to thank anyone, or just tell your mom she's great?
Whichever. Yeah, so I would just like to say thanks to anyone involved, not just from DCL side, but also in the community. We as a team, while we are on race day, not super active in Twitch chat, we do read it when someone cheers for us, or when we win something and people are happy. We read all of the great feedback for Duna's races, and also when she wasn't able to actually race that 3rd race, we read that as well. So we're very thankful for everyone, and we hope to have some better racing for you in 2 weeks. And yeah, we make sure to send it there. Jess, thank you for having me today, and yeah, see you next time.
Gilbert?
Yeah, so just thanks to the community. I've had a great time racing in Sims the past few years, and I'm really glad I managed to get to this level, and hopefully even better. I think Cyclone Racing Team will want a shout out. I used to race for them before I got drafted by XBlades. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, I'll remain as
Thank
this
you
little picture of me up
watching.
in the corner here, and say I look forward to talking to you all and possibly moving a little bit in front of you when we go live at 10 a.m. UTC on Saturday, the 18th of June. Been an absolute pleasure chatting with you both, Star23467 and Gilbert. Much love to both your teams who always entertain us so much. And yeah, a lot of respect, of course, to your Women's Cup pilots as well, who really want to get on and have a chance to chat to and find out more about at some point too. Jess, what are you posing? You trying to copy me? What are you doing here?
I'm trying to imitate your thing, and I decided to make it into a challenge.
Lean the other way. You need to turn the other way, Jess.
Yeah, I've been trying to figure out which angle to
That's
do
it, that way.
at.
And then right hand forward, holding a microphone.
Wants to take challenge with me? Oh wait, holding microphone.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Everybody, please feel free to send in pictures of you doing my pose from. Do you know that's in a 33-degree studio in Sao Paulo in Brazil on stage. That is in 2018. 19.
You must have been.
That was in
sweating.
34 degrees. I'm not kidding.
Right. Thank you.
Right. Oh, Jess is gone. We're going. Right, bye everybody. Make sure you join us for the live event Saturday, 18th of June. China Dragons making their way up the leaderboard. XBlades looking to get a win over Raiden, and Jess constantly surprised, and me as a picture holding a microphone. What could be better? Some of those things, or all or none of those things. That's what we'll do. Saturday, the 18th of June, the virtual drone Grand Prix of Reuter in Austria, here with the Drone Champions League, the World Championship for professional drone racing teams, and sometimes we move. Thanks to Star23467 and FPV Gilbert, and thanks to all of you for watching as well. We will be back with action in just under 2 weeks' time. So join us.
Back in 2016, a World Championship was born.
We're driving cars on a Mars tonight. We're blasting off to the stars tonight. We wanna go, go. We wanna go, go.
Into the bright big ladder they both fly with 9 speed. MCK